seem to be constantly whipsawed. So my name is David Brown. I'm the director here at Descanso Gardens, and you would not want to have our water bill. We use about 100 acre-feet of water a year. And you all familiar with acre-feet? Acre-feet is a really old school, old English measure of the volume of water. And an acre-foot is exactly what it says. It's a body of water 1 foot deep that covers an entire acre. Anybody know how big an acre is? Here's the way to think about it on this playoff weekend in the NFL. An acre is an American football field without the end zones. Okay? So if you have a physical idea of an American football field, just imagine that space, goal line to goal line, sideline to sideline, 100 feet deep. And that's how much water that we use here in Wisconsin. The average homeowner uses about a half an acre-foot a year. Maybe a little less than that. So we're a huge user of water, and we're a huge customer, but we're not. We use more than we buy because we have an historic water source that Mr. Bodie purchased in the early 40s over here across the valley in the foothills of the San Gabriel Mountains, which supplies about half the water that we need for irrigation. Okay, we're really lucky to have Cassie Ariagi here this morning, who is the principal, one of the principals in a very innovative landscape architecture firm called Form LA. And Cassie and her team are doing a project for Descanso right now that relates directly to the subject of water. How many times have you heard someone say, well, Los Angeles is a desert. It's a desert, right? We hear that all the time. And we know that it's not a desert, right? It's a little wetter than a desert, defined in strict terms. And we have a climate here that's called Mediterranean. Are you familiar with the Mediterranean climates? Okay. Knowledgeable crowd, it's great. Because usually I have to spend a lot of time explaining what that means. The other thing that I wanted to, by way of introduction to Cassie, is talk a little bit about rain. And what we have on the screen here is the history of rainfall in Los Angeles since 1875. Pretty interesting. I came across this in doing some research for thinking about our own strategy with water here at Descanso. I came across this, and it really helped me develop a mental picture for our climate as it relates to water. One is the mean, the other is the median. So let's focus on the mean because that's closest to the average, and we talked about averages pretty easily. And you can see that each one of these bars represents a water year. And a water year starts on July 1, and then it goes forward to June 30th of the following year because our water precipitation comes principally in December, January, February, and March. So those are called water years, and we are now in the water year of 2015 and have been since June 30th of 2014. But it doesn't really matter because what we're seeing here is 175 years of rainfall in Los Angeles, and inches of rain on the is that the x-axis or the y? That's the y, right? That's the y up and down, right? So this is inches of rain. This is the amount of rain in a given rain year. And then this place where they separate is the mean for 175 years. So for each one of the bars that's above the mean, that's a water year, precipitation year in which we've received more than the average. And the mean is about 12 and a half inches of rain. So if you come right in this year, that's 12 and a half inches. And then this is above the mean. 2010 was the second wettest year that Los Angeles has had since records were kept. Now, the reason that we know this is that we were in the midst of a major construction project in 2010. And that rain cost us an extra year because of that excess moisture in the soil and the geology of the site and so forth. But as you all know now, we've had less than normal rain for the past 3 rain years. And here are our last 3 rain years. So when you look at this chart, what do you see? Anybody see a pattern in there?
More low years than high years.
There are more low years, there are more years below the mean than above the mean. That's very true. What else do we see about the chart? Just one other observation quickly. Just
But the gaps seem equal.
There seems to be more alternation between high and low than steady trend. That's right. And there's one other thing that I think is pretty interesting. That is that the highs, when they're high, are really high. But when we get the lows, we see pretty consistent here. There's not any years where it's like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So what we think is, so which is the more normal? Yes, here, down here. Now, big picture, we can think about water capture and water storage and water infiltration and stuff in the rainy years, but we have almost 2 below normal years for every 1 that's above normal. So this is the zone. This is the planning zone, not this. And what we're talking about now today is what are the principal users of water? And in Los Angeles and California, domestic use, roughly 10% of all the water used in the state. Only 10%. And of that, 60 to 70%, depending on where you live, is water that we put on the ground. We've made great strides in conserving water inside the front door, but outside the front door is the undiscovered country.
Do you know anything about agricultural percentages?
Agriculture is 80 or 60%, I think, 60 to 65%. The other thing you may not be aware of, which I thought was fascinating, is that we use 40% of the electricity that we use in this state is used to move water around. Because it's really heavy. And we bring it from long distances. So what we're thinking about now at Descanso is how do we plan long-term for an environment that's more like this and less like this. And the principal way we can do that is in garden design. We have economies to make in irrigation. We have economies to make by simply using less. We have ways to reduce domestic use, toilets and cooking and drinking and so forth. But the real payoff is in designing gardens that will thrive in this environment. And what Cassie's firm is working on with us is trying to analyze the problem in terms of aesthetics and human choice and behavior instead of the technical parts of water conservation. Because it's a choice. A lawn is a choice. It takes more water in a normal year to keep a lawn green than it does to keep your swimming pool full. It takes huge amounts of water for aesthetic choices that we make. And what we want to do at Descanso is stop talking about drought tolerant. This is not a drought. This is normal. And it's been this way for a long time. It's just now, in this particular time period, there seems to be much more attention being focused on the importance of water to the state. So we're going to do our little part. Hope to give people a new vision. Remember the term xeriscape? Really, really one of the worst things that happened to horticulture was that word. Because I say xeriscape to you and you think of
Rocks.
gravel and dangerous plants, spiky plants.
Yeah.
That's what you think of. And the word says that, xeriscape. So we're trying to find a new word or set of words to talk about plantings that are perfect for this environment, but are lush and pleasing and fulfilling at the same time. And that's why we hired Cassie, and she's going to tell us how she does it. Cassie Aoyagi from LA.